Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by these great sponsors. Axon started out of a passion for keeping agriculture moving. Imagine having 100 years of tire and wheel knowledge in your back pocket the next time you sell a piece of ag equipment. To find more or become an Axon dealer, please visit axontire.com. This podcast is also brought to you by Valley Transportation. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 or go to valleytransinc.com for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. This podcast is also brought to you by Ag Direct. No matter how you buy your ag equipment, from a dealer, auction, or a private party, Ag Direct can help you finance it. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com.
Hey, what's rule number one? What's rule number one? Party? No, not party. No, it's not party.
Moving higher in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast number 255. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Axon Tire, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. For more information, go to axontire.com. Aaron.
Yes, sir.
How about a nice piece of cold steel in your pocket?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, then send them an email to marketing at axontire.com and they'll send you a free shipping and everything's free.
$0.
$0, right? $0. Send an email to marketing at axontire.com and you will get a really cool Alliance branded pocket knife. And just send an email to marketing at marketing. I'm from the East Coast, so it's in the marketing. Marketing
just in case you're in Boston.
Get in the bar. Marketing at axontire.com and they'll send you what you want so bad as that nice pocket knife.
Is that so? That's an Alliance Tire branded pocket knife. Is that an R1 pocket knife or an R2?
I think it's more R3.
Oh,
what they're looking for that.
Nice.
So,
multi-purpose.
You can do a lot of different stuff with it.
Maybe an R4.
Yeah, it could be.
Little bite, but easy on the grass.
That's right. Low vibratory.
Ooh,
you know what I mean?
Damn.
How you like them apples?
That is heavy.
Right. There we go. All right. So want that pocket knife, go to marketing@axontire.com and you get yourself a sweet deal there. Just send your details to them and they will ship it out to you. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 or go to valleytransinc.com for all your trucking needs at Valley Transportation. Our goal is to help you reach yours. And no matter how you buy equipment from a dealer, auction, or a private party, Ag Direct can help you finance. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. For more information, go to agdirect.com and you get all your financing options there. So, Aaron, how you been this week, man?
I have been fantastical.
Have you?
Not really. It was cold. It snowed. It snowed. It might be muddy Sunday.
Yeah,
till like noon.
I walked outside and I'm like, someone told me about this once. I think they call it precipitation.
Yeah.
I think.
Is this what moisture is?
Yeah. So we got a little moisture here, got a little snow on the ground, and we have supposedly we got a big warm front coming through, but
for a day,
2
days,
and then it drops off pretty quick, and then we should have another round of this again. It sounds like
we had a nice April in January and February.
We really did.
Yeah. So I'm glad January showed up in March.
The cool thing about the Panhandle is it goes summer, spring, winter, fall. You know what I mean?
Right.
These kind of things are kind of backwards, but
early fall, middle of winter, summer.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That is exactly right.
And that's all March 1st to April 15th.
Yeah. So you get a lot of fun stuff that way.
Yeah.
Flip side of that is now that we've got this going into planting season, we got to get some field work done. We got to get a few things done. Knock on wood, get a little more of the snow into March, and hopefully by April we got an opportunity to really.
Let's hope she's coming.
Yeah,
the 2-footer, buddy.
We need one. We need
the 2-footer.
We need one of those. I think the first year that I moved back out here in the month of April,
17.
I think it was April.
So it would have been April 18.
Yeah, it was April. Yeah, and it snowed every Sunday in April.
Yes, correct.
6 inches of slush.
Because we talked about it on the cast.
Yeah, it's so good times, good things to think about there. So
That was a really wet year.
it really was. That really was.
20 and 21 were not.
Not so much.
No.
Not so much. So we have a really cool guest here with us, and Tim is a listener of the show, and he reached out to us from Australia. He's from the land down under, And what Tim does really nicely is that he feeds me my lottery tickets numbers because he's a day ahead of us. So I got all these lottery tickets. I get these numbers, and then he sends them to me. So Tim, how you doing, man?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Casey and Aaron. How are you guys?
Good. Happy Saturday in the future.
Yeah. So what's Saturday like?
It's a little cool down here.
Is it?
Which is which is unseasonable for this time of year. It's it should be a good day. It's a Saturday.
Right
on.
So Australia, totally different time frame here. It's winter time here, so it's springtime, going into springtime, or actually going into summertime in Australia, and so I guess talk a little bit about.
We're going into fall.
Oh, fall.
Yeah,
fall.
we're going into fall.
I can't even get it. You flush the toilet, it goes backwards. Everything's different, man. I'm so screwed up.
Well, that's because we're kind of almost spring here.
That's right.
But everything's white outside. So
Yeah, that's true. So
there's that.
So Tim reached out to us and he said, "Hey, you know what, man? I got this great idea that I'd love to talk to you guys about what we're doing in Australia." And I was like, "Man, that'd be awesome." And this actually plays out pretty well to what we're going to talk about this week. So Tim, talk a little bit about yourself, a little bit about the dealership you work for, and a little bit about your background and how you got to where you're at today.
So thanks, Casey. I've been involved in agriculture all my life, grew up on a family farm. I studied agriculture at university. I spent a lot of years driving tractors, worked in the cotton industry in Australia. And I actually spent some time in the US working for a custom harvester, worked for Wrights out of Sydney and Bridgeport. And then I came back and got involved in sales in farm equipment. So I worked for a John Deere dealer down south by the name of Hutchin & Pierce. I spent 3 years with those guys, and then I moved up to where I am now. I worked for a company called Chesterfield Australia, which is located in Dubbo. Now, Dubbo is about 400 k's west of Sydney, and in this area we have a lot of dry land cereal crops, as well as irrigated cotton further west of here. I worked for an auction company for about 2.5 years, and whilst I enjoyed it, the ag was just too strong, and I now sales manager for Case IH dealership, which by the name of Three Rivers Machinery. We have 3 stores, one in Narromine, one in Warren, and one in Gilgandra, and we cover quite a diverse range of crops, being dryland cereals, irrigated cotton, when we do have the water. So yeah.
Cool. All right. So geographically, like you talked to where you're at from Sydney. So talk a little bit about the landscape where you're at. Are you in an area that is drier, dry, kind of arid type of climate? Or are you in a place that gets lots of rain? Talk a little bit about that.
So we're in an area that we'd call it temperate. Yes, we get cold winds. It doesn't snow where we are. About 150 k's or 75 miles east of here, it does snow, but doesn't snow for long. Where we are, and we have very hot summers, so it's nothing to be well over 100 for weeks on end during our summers, and our winters would be probably in the 40s. That would be about as cold as it gets. So
tremendous.
How do you handle that?
We have good air conditioning systems, so yeah. So yeah, what we call cold is nothing to what you guys call cold.
Right.
And rainfall wise, our rainfall ranges from anywhere from about 20 inches of rain to about, we've got guys farming on 14 inches of rain.
So that's decent because we're in an area where we're what, 13, 15?
I mean, yeah, for
supposedly
if we turn up the garden hose,
right? Yeah. What we're supposed to get,
right? Yeah, I think we average somewhere between like, I think it's 13 to 18 inches or something like that.
I think like the valley might be like 17. I know up here we're 13, and good luck.
Yeah. I guess the other. I mean, do you count snow in that?
Yeah,
that's annual precipitation.
That's watering your lawn.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you're a lot drier than I thought you guys would have been.
Yep.
Yeah. So we live in that area where we're heavily dependent upon pivot irrigation, flood irrigation. We have some subsurface drip irrigation that's made its way into the area. But if you're a dryland farmer and out here in this neck of the woods, you are definitely you're at the whim of Mother Nature. I mean, there's times where you can go out and they'll get 50 bushel corn, and but the next year we get a lot of rain, you might get 150 bushel corn.
Right.
So it just depends on totally depends on the weather. So talk a little bit about the crops in your area and what that looks like.
So the crops that we grow in this area, our predominant crop is wheat. So we grow wheat, oats, barley. They're canola. We grow a lot of canola down here. Again, seasonal.
Hey Tim, what kind of wheat do you guys grow down there?
We would grow what comparable to yours. We would grow a spring wheat.
Okay.
We don't have any red wheats down here. All our wheats, whilst we call them winter wheats, they're actually a spring wheat, and they're a white wheat.
Yep.
Okay. So a lot of our wheats are very high, again, depending on the season, but high protein wheats. So, and it's got a lot to do with our dry finish.
Right.
Cotton, we grow a lot of cotton. We're sort of midway. We're one of the middle valleys. And our cotton is predominantly flood irrigated.
Gotcha.
So we do have some guys working on sub drip irrigation, but not many. And I think it's got a lot to do with the cost to set that up.
Right. Yeah.
It's very expensive to set that up. So
that's definitely a pretty expensive thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can be then sort of locked into that.
Yeah, right.
So,
that's a big investment. You don't just walk away from. You got to try to make it work. So
make it pay. That's right. Yeah, the guys that are doing it very successful at doing it. They punch out some good yields. So our dryland or our and very very rarely do we do any dryland cotton. It's just it'd be 1 in 6 or 8 years that you would even contemplate doing a dryland cotton crop in this area. Yields of cotton, we will go anywhere from 10 bales up to 13, 14 bales a hectare.
Okay.
So it's quite a high yielding crop, and they've come a long way in the last 10 years.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
So 13 bales per hectare, that would be roughly, just easy math, say it was 14. So you're looking at what, 5 to 5.5 bales per acre, roughly. That sound about right?
Yeah, that'd be pretty close. Yeah,
maybe 6.5. I guess. So that's pretty cotton.
That is.
Yeah. So okay, outstanding.
And we also have a lot of mixed farmers. So a lot of the guys that are growing small grains, dryland small grains, are also running sheep and cattle.
Okay.
So I was at a guy's place yesterday, and he has 18,000 sheep that he's going to shear. So
that's my people.
Yes,
that is my people.
My very next question there is what's the sheep sitch look like in your neck of the woods for my boy over here?
Yeah, a lot cooler than it does up here. I know that.
Yeah, and that's there's in that area. There's quite a few big operations that are running. Between those numbers up into the 30,000 mark.
A lot of merinos,
places,
right?
A lot of merinos, but there's been there's a bit of a shift away from merinos. People are running Dorpers.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Is that what you have?
Yeah. So, and I think the
Proud
reason,
Dorper razor.
Yeah.
So is that similar to like a Doppler radar? Is that the same thing, or is that
Dorper?
Oh, Dorper.
Doppler.
Okay, sorry, dude. I'll tell you.
I think that's because wool price, the money's coming out of wool and the cost of production. So where the money is, especially with sheep, is in first cross lambs and also in the Dorper sheep being predominantly meat sheep. That's where the money is.
Yep. Now, there's a lot of white Dorper down there, right? Not necessarily all blackhead.
No, they're all the Dorpers I've seen are all white.
All
I've
white.
not seen any black. Yeah.
Yep. That's
or
what
very few black. Yeah.
Right.
Blackheads.
Because they call those the royal white Dorpers, and they were developed in part in Australia. So.
I had to wake myself up for a second. We were talking about sheep. I don't know what happened there. No, I'm just kidding. Now there's that is a big part of agriculture there. I went to South Africa one time and we went to the Nampo farm show, and to go walk through a farm show where everything was geared towards, from the livestock perspective, was geared mainly towards sheep it was kind of cool because they had these
You just walked through one of my dreams every night, buddy. That's it. Welcome.
They had a what was it, like a stock trailer
that double deck trailer.
Yeah,
you sent me pictures.
I'm like, look at this thing, dude. You put like sheep down here, you got sheep on the top, you got sheep everywhere, and it was a very neat deal. But it was coming from the United States and setting into where if you go to a farm show and you see like a booth centered around sheep, you're like,
lucky.
Whoa, what is this? What's this guy doing over here?
Yeah.
It was like the complete opposite way around. You go, like, there was one booth centered towards beef production,
right?
everything else was cattle production, or some wild game farm or whatever it was. But it's definitely it's a different atmosphere and a different mix when you start looking at how all of those things kind of play together.
Yeah, it is, and I think that's what gets us through, because we live in what we call a dry climate. That's what gets, because the guys don't have all their eggs in one basket. So usually when the grain market's down, the livestock market's up, and vice versa, and that's what gets them through.
Yep, absolutely.
Because it's just too risky to have everything in one. We do have some large corporate places that are purely cropping. We do have some large family farms which are purely cropping, but we also have some large family farms that have their finger in every pie, and that's just purely a risk management tool.
Yep.
Yeah. That's it's the same thing we see out here. I mean, we have cattle production, and we have we'll have one guy that'll be in cattle production, edible beans, corn, alfalfa, wheat, sugar beets, whatever. I mean, they might be doing 5 or 6 different things all at the same time. And, it goes back to that risk management plan that you've got and what that looks like. And obviously, if you're all in one place, some guys are really vertically integrated too, when you start looking at a feedlot operation and they're growing their corn and what have you to be more of that. I'm really raising corn to feed the cows that I'm really raising. That's kind of what we see happen.
Well, and you used to have in the U.S., every farm had some livestock.
Yep.
Back in even to the 70s, 80s, everybody had some hogs. They had some cows. They farmed. They had a little bit of everything. And nowadays, you got livestock guys, you got crop guys, and you got a small margin in the middle that does both.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right. So let's jump into the crux of what we're talking about here. And if we're going to do this, we've got to be able to do this right here, because this is what we have.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
So what we've got going on right now is we got Tim on here, and what we're really going to focus on today is what our customers actually look like and what those customer breakdowns are starting to turn into. So talking with Tim before we actually got started with this whole thing was the difference in how the perception of machinery looks, right? So in the United States, if you have a 7,000 hour machine traded in, the first thing the customer asks you is what's been done to it,
Right.
and what's wrong with it,
Right.
Because it's Australia and everything's backwards. If it's 500 hour machine, the customer's asking what the hell's wrong with it. So Tim, talk a little bit about how your market is and what that looks like.
So our market is, if we have a tractor with really low hours on it, people are going to be quite skeptical about that. And I think it's got a lot to do with our. There's a couple of things that play into that. Is our climate and the fact that we don't have year on year, and also too, there's not the government incentives, generally speaking, to be flipping gear over all the time, and the cost of the gear, especially down this way. So our sweet spot really for row crop tractors is really between that sort of 2,000 to 4,000 hours would be our really sweet spot. People aren't going to ask too many questions about what it is, because that's about where people trade them. Like I said earlier before, if we had a tractor with under 500 hours, people would be very skeptical about what's going on with it, what's wrong with it. So, and then when we roll into the four-wheel drive tractors, and we see quite a few out this way, they're anywhere from sort of 3,000 to 6,000-7,000. We've seen them into 7,000 hour mark, with not too many dramas at all.
Okay. What about combines? What's kind of the sweet spot in the separator hours on combines?
Yeah, combines is really anywhere from 500 to 1,000 hours with separator hours. However, we see it again because of our variable climate. We see a lot of combines that are getting blown out, and they're sort of 1,500 they can be around that 1,500 to 2,000 hour mark. So, yeah, it being rotor hours.
So we're pretty similar there.
Right.
Very similar.
Right. So when you look at when you're looking at your new customers that are buying the new machines, when you're looking at those guys, how many hours a year on a average operation? How many hours a year on a combine, on a tractor? I mean, if you're putting 5,000 to 7,000 hours before you trade it in, is that 5 years worth of work? Is that 3 years worth of work? I mean, when you start looking at those hour breakdown, how's that look?
So it really varies. So it varies between our cotton growers or our irrigators as opposed to our dry land guys. And then again, inside that, it really depends on years as well. So it depends on water availability, because some years we've got the last 2 years we've been running on 100% allocation. So guys are going hell for leather, putting lots of hours on the tractors.
You never have to worry about that. Allocation. You don't have to worry about that. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys run on full groundwater, full allocation groundwater?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100% year on year. Yeah. See, even our groundwater. So we have irrigation out of groundwater and river water, and both of those work on an allocation scheme. So, so again, it depends, but combines, roughly 250 separator hours we work on per year. Tractors, again, could be anywhere from 250 to 500-600 hours a year. It really depends on whether they're a dry land guy or they're an irrigation guy.
Gotcha. Okay. So the one thing here that we're really looking at, and Aaron, jump in here on this, is how those lines of delineation are starting to line up with with your customers, right? So you got the guys that always buy new, and you've got the guys that always buy the first trade, the second, third trade, so on and so forth, all the way through your washout cycle. What that looks like. The one thing that's different now than say back in 2012 when we had a big run up in commodity prices. I mean, you're talking 2012. Australian wheat was a big deal back in 2012, right? I mean, it was a pretty high value. I mean, you had plenty of good value for your wheat. You had a lot of stuff going on. The difference between then and now is that we had guys that would just come in and buy a brand new tractor, and that was just a one-off deal. And they would do that. They would come and buy it. I'm not saying that's not happening now, but what we're seeing not happen now is we're selling, $7.50 corn right now, $7.50 corn. And there's the new buyers are buying new. The first generation used buyers are buying that 1 to 3 year old machine. The second generation guy is buying the 4 to 7 year old machine. The third guy is still buying the 8 to
10 plus.
10, well, and then you get the fifth guy that's like, the 10 plus, whatever that comes down to and what that looks like. With that mix that you see happening in your area, if you're going from brand new to 5,000 hours on a tractor, how's that washout cycle look?
So really only our washout cycle. So we'll have our new buyer.
Okay.
And then we'll have our second tier buyer that'll buy that 5,000 hour tractor. Gotcha. And so we only really have 2 cycles on that. And then we might see that tractor come back in at, we might see it come back in at 8. We might see it come back in at 10. But that's about it. It doesn't really go any further.
Okay. So from a reconditioning standpoint, like the yearly, these customers are bringing in these different machines. Like what's the rebuild cycle look like on a tractor? I mean, is it at 8,000 hours, 9,000 hours? They're rebuilding the engine, transmission, differentials, the whole overhaul type of deal? Or is it when it gets to that point, they kind of throw it away and they go get a new one? How's that work?
So with the second tier buyer, once it gets, some of those guys will just continually run those tractors. Like I've seen Magnum tractors come through our shop with 20,000 hours on them.
Wow.
And they've just rebuilt the components,
right?
And they'll continue to hang on to them. So they'll either make a decision whether they continue to run that machine, and then they'll add another 5,000 hour machine, or depending on the season, they might grab a very low hour machine like 2,000 hour and add into their fleet. But very rarely do they buy new. Some of those guys do buy new. Again, it depends on the government incentives and also to the interest rates at what we can. That plays a big part on it, and that sometimes converts some of those traditional tier 2 buyers into becoming a tier 1 buyer.
Gotcha.
So when the guy that buys that 5,000 hour tractor, Tim, he just doesn't trade?
Again, it just depends. Some of them will trade, and that's when you'll start to see them come in at sort of around about that 8,000 hour mark, 8, 9, even 10,000 hour mark. And obviously they're priced accordingly. As a dealer, we might encourage them to sell it privately, which there is a market for those sorts of things, as a second, third, fourth tractor for someone, or we'll put it through auction.
Gotcha.
Okay, that was my next question, and you beat me to a good segue. Auction. What does the auction market look like in Australia?
So the auction market is nowhere near as strong as what it is in the US. We don't have that wholesaling market that you guys talk about. We don't really have that just because our market is not big enough and we don't have the volume of customers. It's very sporadic. So, of everything that comes to Australia, whether it's John Deere, Case IH, New Holland, the big brands, we only account for 4% of their world market of equipment. So we're really a small player. Right. We're big in area. We're really a small player when you're talking numbers.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the ag auction market is starting to emerge. We're starting to see dealers that are using that are using auction houses. In Australia, we've got access. We've got Ritchie Brothers. Some guys use Ritchie Brothers. We've got Pickles, which is a big family-owned auction company in Australia. It's in every state. And we've got the Mannheim, which is, I think it's a branch of Cox Auto. And then we've also got a lot of our stock and station agents who look after livestock and those sorts of things. They'll actually do online clearing sales and things like that because they have the relationship with those customers firsthand.
Huh, that's cool.
That's pretty cool. So like here we've got what we call a quote unquote hobby farmer, and that person is the guy or gal that they've got they might have, they got a smaller operation. And when I mean smaller, like they've got 100 acres, maybe 500 or 600 acres that they
under
farm.
5 for sure.
Yeah. And they've got the job in town still, they've got 50 to 150, maybe 200 cows, something like that, where they kind of monitor those kind of things. Is there a market like that where you have that secondary buyer, but they also have an off-farm job that makes enough money to allow them to
support the hobby?
To support the hobby. Is there?
Yeah, look, we do
like that. Does that happen?
Yeah, we do, and that's an emerging market, especially in the town where I live, Dubbo. Dubbo has about 35,000 people. So we call it a city. It's not a big city compared to you guys, and it is. So we draw. A lot of people come to Dubbo. Dubbo is like a hub. West of here, the next major town would be Broken Hill, which everybody knows where Broken Hill is. It's about 800 k's west of Dubbo. So we draw a lot of people into Dubbo to come and do their business. So it's become, we've got all the banking, all the legal, all the accountants. There's a few ag dealerships. There's chemical supply companies, all based in Dubbo.
You're kind of a big hub there for a big region.
It is, and we've also got a regional sale yard here in Dubbo, which draws livestock from as far away as the Queensland border. So there's a lot of people. Dubbo's becoming a growing place, and as it grows, we're getting those fringe or the hobby farmers that are working in ag but want to be doing ag on the weekends. Right. So yes, we do have that. That is an emerging market, and in the last probably, I would say, the last 5 to 8 years, we've seen a big push in compact tractors, what we call compact tractors, from obviously ourselves, Case IH, and also to the John Deere dealer. So, yeah.
So put that in perspective, what he's talking about, it'd be like he lives in Lincoln and then Scottsbluff is the next place.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's
a long ways. And his town
probably more than a tank of gas to make that run.
Yeah, and his town's smaller than Grand Island.
Right.
So that's it, man.
That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts.
There is a few towns between, but they're not by any means major towns. So
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That would be wow. If you're from Kansas, that'd be like going from like Wichita to Sharon Springs.
Well, we're probably further than that.
Well, Sharon, Kansas. I always get those two messed up. Sharon Springs is not that far away. Sharon, Kansas is on the other side. Liberal. Be like going to Liberal.
There you go.
No, they didn't be that far. It'd be like going from.
It'd be further than that. It'd be like
Wichita
damn near Kansas City to Goodland.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wichita to Denver. That'd be
right.
That'd be a similar thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be about. Yeah, that'd be about
right now that I got my Kansas geography that jacked up. I apologize to all my Kansas listeners.
All three of them.
God bless.
They are pissed.
All right. So, future-wise, let's talk about that a little bit, right? We got all this technology coming in and all those things that are playing into how things are rolling through and all that kind of stuff. As you look at your customer base right now, how's technology playing into? Is that going to speed up this? I need to trade my 5,000 hour tractor earlier now so I get some more technology, or Do I just need to get more tractors? I mean, how's that playing into this whole conversation?
So Australia has always been really early adapters to technology. So back when auto steer was first came, Australia really adapted quite well to that, and it was to do with our access to labour, because we don't have so many people working here, and also too, it's about because I guess our soils are so poor and we only have so much of the farming country that we have, we're trying to drive squeeze every last bit out of it that we possibly can and be as effective as what we can. So, yeah, Australian farmers have always been very early adapters of anything that's going to save them money or make them more efficient. And I think you're right. I think as the technology and that part of tractors is just moving so quickly compared to what it did 10 years ago. Every new model update and every new software update, it's just like, you need specialists in your dealership to be looking after that side of things. It's one thing to sell the metal, but to be able to keep up and sell the technology that enhances that metal is another thing. And I think as time goes on, we're going to see people they're going to come accustomed to that technology, and it's going to be like auto steer. Like when the auto steer is not working in a tractor, it's like machine down. We can't do anything. You've got a steering wheel that you can drive with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We're going to get to that. I think we're going to get to that stage. And it's interesting because I just don't know how this driverless tractor is going to play out and when we're going to see those things, because obviously Deere's got a machine, Case IH has got a concept machine as well. It's going to be very interesting to see how
it'll be interesting to see how Case's relationship with Raven plays out, right?
Yes.
So they've got that Smart Ag, Smart Ag's part of Raven now. They got the DOT tractor that's truly autonomous,
100% robot.
And in an area, especially like in Australia, where these wide open spaces where they can just kind of go and run, it will definitely be interesting to see how that. And you mentioned it earlier, same here as in the US. It is totally so labor availability driven marketplace, right? That's one thing I've said. I don't know if I've actually said this podcast or not, but the biggest reason why I think agriculture is such a leading edge when it comes to technology is that there's less and less people coming into the marketplace labor wise.
Oh, absolutely.
That's right.
They have to come up with, you start looking at like high value crops, vegetables and fruits and those kind of things. They're kind of leading the way in, electrified tractors, autonomous this.
Yep. Lots of robotics.
A lot of robotics fall into that mix. Are you seeing something similar to that? If you get closer to the coast where you have more temperate climates, where you have maybe more of a year round growing cycle and those kind of things, are you seeing more of that kind of stuff pop up?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, that's right. Especially in those high intensive crops, vegetable crops, edible crops, those sorts of things, time sensitive crops that need to be harvested into market ASAP. And that happens obviously close to the coast. We also there is a guy who is in southeast Queensland. He's got totally automatic machines, like automatic sprayers. I think it's called Swarm Farm or Swab Farm or something like that. And he's playing around with the concept of having smaller machines, but more of them completely that are completely automatic.
Right.
So it's just a matter of shifting those machines, because our mindset at the moment is to go, especially the areas that we have, is bigger. So one guy can do what 5 guys used to do. But this guy's theory is, let's have lots of small ones, and we can still get because we're not tying anybody up, because they're completely autonomous vehicles.
Right. Yeah.
So, and that was designed completely from the ground up here in Australia. So, which is pretty awesome.
That is awesome because Casey talks about that quite a bit with that's what we're eventually going to see. We're going to get so big that we can't do anything else with it. And then boom, lots of little bitties.
Lots of little bitty ones running around because it makes more sense. I mean, why spend the money to get one, $700,000 machine when you can get 5 or 6 of them that kind of do the same thing, and you can sparse those things out as you need them. You put 7 of them in the same field and you get a lot of stuff done, but you have to take 7 of those and put them out in 7 different fields and let them just kind of do their thing. So,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
See, and I like the video of that 240-foot air seeder running in Australia with the 2 tractors pulling it. That's more my style.
With the tree right in the middle of it.
One tree.
I do like that, but it is a nightmare to shift that stuff around, and especially trees. Trees are a big thing, and our government doesn't really like us removing trees. So, can you imagine turning that thing around trees?
When I saw that tractor, the two tractors pulling one implement, I thought obviously one has to be controlled by an RTK network, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because even if your one machine says you're both going 7.6 miles an hour or whatever it is that you're playing at, you're doing that all the way through the field. Could you imagine the turn row?
Right.
I mean, holy crap.
Yeah.
That thing was 240 feet wide. And you're turning that stupid thing around. I mean, that means every row unit, that row unit on the other end is going like 72 miles.
Oh, yeah. Well, not only that, but when you're sitting here at the steering wheel and you're that far off your mark.
Oh, yeah.
You translate that 120 feet that direction, and it's way off.
Way off.
That's it. Yeah. And so, the guys, so that's not that far, what I would say not far from here in Dubbo. That operation's probably 400 or 500 Ks from here, which I wouldn't call that far away.
Right.
So
it's all relative.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, we're the same way.
All relative.
Eastern Nebraska, 50 miles is almost an overnight trip. To us, it's, I got to run over here quick and get it pop.
Yeah. They got to go on the fastball game all the way back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, I'll tell you what, man, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you listening to the podcast and coming on here and talking about what's going on. If folks want to reach out to you, Tim, and get more information about what it is that you're doing in Australia, or just pick your brain about what's going on. What's the best way to do that?
The best way to do that's probably by email. My best email is tim@3rm.com.au.
Right on, man. Well, Tim Short, man, it's awesome, dude. I'm glad you listened. We'll have to have you back on again sometime.
Absolutely.
What's going on? And when you get to your
we'll have a little check-in down under.
Yeah, that's right. We'll have to have you on more often just to see what's going on in Australia. So, Tim, appreciate you being on the podcast, man.
Yeah, thanks, Casey. Thanks, Aaron. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys, and I love hearing about what's happening in North America as well. So thanks, guys, and I look forward to coming back.
Right on. So, well, good deal. Well, I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Make sure you check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's where you find the latest editions of the Moving Iron Podcast. You can also go to Moving Iron LLC and get all the information about the Moving Iron Summit coming up in Nashville, Tennessee, September 6, 7, and 8. Tim, you should check it out, man. Get on a plane, come on over. Check it out, man. It'd be a good time.
I'd love to.
That'd be great. We have a guy from Greece that comes every so often. So
Wow.
So you should check that out, man. But if you're interested in doing that, go to the website and all the information is there. If you need more information, send me an email at MovingIronPodcast at MovingIronPodcast.com, and I will send you all the information you need. Aaron, best way to get a hold of you is?
Pretty active on the Twitterverse at AARonFintel. I'm also on Facebook. And call or text me, text preferred, 308-760-1193.
Right on. Also, one more thing. I always forget to tell you this. Go to LinkedIn. There's a Moving Iron page there. Check that out. Like it, follow it, and all that fun stuff. So check that out as well. So with that, I am Casey Seymour with Aaron Fennell and Tim Short. Let's go move some iron, folks. Out.
Axon Tire is going to have more tips, tricks, and client advice throughout the year and in September at the Moving Iron Summit in Nashville. If you're looking to sign up for the event, please head over to MovingIronLLC.com. We hope to see you there. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 or go to valleytransitinc.com for all of your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. And no matter how you buy ag equipment from a dealer, auction, or a private party, AgDirect can help you finance it. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com.
Moving higher in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving higher.